Workshop of invisible paints. Characters. 1. Victor, 45 years old. A crisis manager at the top level. A human function. His face resembles a frozen mask of calm, and his thoughts are always busy with efficiency charts. 2. Vitusia, 6-year-old. Victor's inner child. A quiet, pale boy who has forgotten how to smile and is used to sitting in the corner so as not to disturb adults. 3. Professor Ludo, keeper of the game. An old man wearing a huge bright orange scarf that smells of tangerines and freshly cut grass. He lives in a world where physical laws depend on the power of imagination. 4. Architect of Order. Victor's shadow part. A tall figure in a grey suit who constantly measures everything with a ruler and forbids any useless actions. Part 1. Drought in the Heart. Victor was sitting in his office. On the table there are 3 phones, 2 monitors, and perfectly cold coffee. He had just closed a deal worth millions, but inside he felt nothing but a dry ringing in his ears. His life turned into an endless conveyor belt. He forgot the taste of food because he was eating on the run. He didn't notice the weather because he was moving from an air-conditioned office to an air-conditioned car. But today something went wrong. An ordinary paper airplane fell on his immaculately clean desk. It was folded from a yellowed notebook page into a ruler. Victor touched it, and suddenly the silence of the office exploded with sounds. Children's laughter, which immediately stopped. The walls of the office began to slowly cover with cracks, through which bright, unnaturally green moss grew. Pause for immersion. Close your eyes. Remember your most serious role in life. Feel how it presses on your shoulders. And now imagine that right now a greeting from childhood flies into your reality. What is it? A toy? A smell? A melody? Part 2. The Land of Lost Meanings. Victor woke up in a clearing where the grass was waist-high and rang with every step like small bells. The sky here was the color of ripe blueberries, and instead of the sun, a huge soap bubble shone. "You've gone too far in your growing up, sir," came a voice from above. On the branch of a giant dandelion sat Professor Ludo. He blew bubbles from an old tube, and in each bubble Victor saw fragments of his childhood, which he thought had been erased. "Where am I?" Victor asked, adjusting his tie, which looked ridiculous here. "In a place where time is not wasted but grown," Ludo replied. "Your little Vitusia is completely withered. He sits in the fortress of seriousness and guards your old grievances. If he forgets how to play, your life will finally turn into a cracker." The professor jumped down and handed Victor a stick, an ordinary dry branch. "Take it. This is your pass." "It's just a stick," Victor remarked skeptically. "It can be a sword, a baton, a spyglass, or a magic bow. But for you, it's just firewood. That's your trouble. Come on. We need to teach the boy to turn nothing into everything again." Part 3. Greystone Fortress. They came to a huge building that looked like a pile of grey folders for documents. It was dark inside and smelled of dust and old textbooks. In the centre of the hall, at a huge table, sat little Vitusia. He was dressed in a strict suit, which was obviously too small for him, and prevented him from breathing. The boy diligently shifted grey stones from one pile to another. "What are you doing?" Victor asked quietly. "I divide the important from the unimportant," the child replied seriously, without looking up. Unimportant things should be thrown away. It doesn't matter how to play. It doesn't matter if you paint on wallpaper. You need to prepare for exams. You need to be comfortable. Have to. Dictusha coughed from the dust. At that moment, the architect of order came out of the shadows. He looked like Victor, but lifeless as a statue. In his hands, he held a huge sand clock, where instead of sand there was dust. Don't disturb him, the architect thundered. He builds your success. Every second of the game is a lost ruble. Every fantasy is a hole in the defense. Go away before you destroy the order. Victor looked at his hands. They were as cold as the architect's. But then he looked at Vitusha, at his thin neck and sad eyes. Pause for reflection. Look at your inner child. What is he doing in your inner world? Is he locked up? Is he working? Is he trying to please you? How do you feel when you look at his efforts to be good? Part 4, The First Spark. I don't want order that kills anymore, Victor said. He remembered Ludo's advice. He picked up the same dry branch. Look, Vitusha, this is not a stick. It's a dragon's tail. The architect laughed a cold laugh. You're delirious. This is the biological waste of the tree. But Victor did not give up. He began to draw with a stick in the air. Where the tip of the branch passed, there was a trail of golden pollen. Victor, look. The dragon wakes up. The boy looked up for the first time. A faint twinkle of curiosity flashed through them. He timidly stretched out his hand and touched the golden trail. The pollen turned into a tiny glowing dragon that sat on the child's shoulder and licked him on the cheek. Vitusha involuntarily smiled, and at that moment, one of the grey walls of the fortress collapsed, revealing a view of the sea from the jelly. No, the architect shouted. This is illogical. It's not profitable. It brings life, Victor exclaimed. He grabbed the child in his arms and ran out of the fortress. Part 5. Lesson in Frivolity. They found themselves on the seashore where the waves were made of soft silk. Professor Ludo was already waiting for them. Now comes the hard part, Ludo said. You need to play. Just like that. Without a purpose. To no avail. No victories. How is that? Victor asked. Isn't the game a competition? A real game is a process where you lose yourself and find the whole world. Victor and Vitusha began to build the castle. But not from sand, but from clouds that descended directly to the water. Let's make a tower out of strawberry steam, Vitusha suggested. His voice grew stronger, and his cheeks flushed. And the bridge will be made of rainbow echoes. Victor picked up. They got dirty in imaginary paint, jumped over puddles for joy and laughed loudly, indecently loudly. Victor felt the heavy grey skin slipping off him. The tie finally turned into a bow tie and flew away. The architect of order tried to approach them, but every time he stepped on the ground, giant tickle flowers grew under his feet, and he began to giggle, losing his stern form. Eventually, the architect shrunk down to the size of a pocket calendar and hid in the grass. Pause for accommodation. Imagine that you are doing something absolutely useless and stupid, but it brings you wild delight. What are you doing? Dancing in the rain? Jumping on the bed? Launching boats in a puddle? Feel this state of flow where there is no need but only want. Part 6. Integration. The bubble sun began to slowly sink below the horizon. Vitusha looked completely different. His suit turned into a comfortable bright sweater, and in his hands he held the same paper airplane. "Will you leave?" the boy asked, looking at the adult Victor. "I'm not leaving." Victor sat down in front of him. "I'll just go back to the room where the monitors are. But now I'm going to take you with me. Under the table, we will always have a box with invisible paints. And when it gets too grey, we'll paint rainbow echoes right on boring reports." Professor Ludo walked over to them and draped his orange scarf over the shoulders of both of them. "Remember, Victor, seriousness is just a mask we put on when we are afraid. But the world was created in the game. And when you play, you become a co-author of the universe." Vitusha hugged Victor. At that moment, two hearts, adult and child, began to beat in the same rhythm. Epilogue. Victor opened his eyes in his office. The clock showed that only a minute had passed. The coffee was still cold, but when an assistant knocked on the door with another catastrophic report, Victor did not shrink. He looked at the assistant and noticed that his collar was very funny. "You know," Victor said, "this report will wait 10 minutes. He took a blank sheet of paper from a drawer, quickly folded an airplane out of it, and launched it through the open window. "Fly," he whispered. Vitusha clapped his hands happily inside him. Victor left the office early. He was walking down the street, and for the first time in many years, he saw that puddles are not an obstacle, but mirrors in which the sky is reflected. And for a moment, it seemed to passers-by that a respectable man in an expensive coat jumped on one leg before entering the subway. Workshop after the story. This story teaches us that play is the highest form of health. 1. Task stick. Find any ordinary object, pen, mug, keys today. Come up with 5 completely absurd uses for it. For example, a mug is a helmet for a gnome, or a microphone for ants. 2. 15 minutes of nonsense. Set aside a time today when you will do something without any meaning. Draw scribbles, build a tower of food, speak a made-up language. 3. Gift to Victor. Ask yourself, what would my inner child like to do right now? And do it, even if it seems not serious.